advantage is on the queen side, where he has 4 pawns against black's 3, which is a mobile, a workable pawn majority, as opposed to black's on the king side, which isn't workable. In exchange for this, black, of course, has free lines for his pieces. Black bishop coming out, white bishop coming out, straight development now. Black castling. The system Hort has adopted with pawn on c3 and bishop on d3 and knight on e2 intends a very aggressive plan of castling queenside, after bringing the queen to c2 with queen and bishop lined up on this diagonal to the black h7 pawn. Very aggressive plan.
Do you think Hort will be pleased with his opening so far?
I think he'll be happy that he has a position which has both possibilities of attacking the black king and also the long-term possibility of exploiting this pawn advantage. He has a choice of plans now.
Pfleger, of course, has a reputation for getting into dire positions in the openings because he doesn't really understand what's going on. Is his position good, bad, indifferent?
It's a little worse for black. Pfleger will, I think, be quite happy with it because it's quite an easy position to play. He plays bad positions very well. It's not that bad, though.
Right, now let's join the game with Vlastimil Hort, white to move.
I remember one game that Bronstein played in Soviet Union, and he played quite nice plan. I think I have to adopt this plan as well. Queen to c2.
Oh, he threatens to take my pawn on h7 with check. How shall I defend it? Well, I could play g6, but I don't like it too much. He can come with h4, h5, and with the open h-file, it looks rather dangerous, his attack. And he could castle then on the queen's side. Well, no, I don't like it. I think I better play h6.
That's a surprise. It's probably a good move because now I have to give up my plans with opening h-line, and I have just to play positionally. I think that I will go for changing black color bishops. Bishop c1 to f4.
Oh, so he solves the problem of developing his black-colored bishop. Well, there's nothing else than to take it away.
Yes, I have also to take back. Knight takes f4.
Now I could check him with my rook on e8, and he has to come back with his knight. Well, I win a tempo, but nevertheless he has rather safe position, and he has still his extra pawn on the queen side. Maybe I should undermine his center with c5. It looks better.
It is surprising move. Of course, I expected rook to e8, and I wanted to come back with my knight to e2 and then castle to small side. And now I think I change my plans, and yes, I think that I can castle now to queen side. I will do this. My plan is then, if c5 takes d4, I will check bishop h7 check, king h8, rook takes d4, and my all pieces are well placed, so I will just castle for long side. Castle.
All of a sudden I don't feel very well in my skin anymore, because if I take on d4, he plays bishop h7 check and takes back with rook on d4, and it looks rather nasty, the game then, because my queen is pinned on d8. But maybe I can avoid this pin by playing my queen to a5 and making him lose a tempo by covering the pawn on a2.
My opponent solves the problem probably the best way for himself. Yes, that's a good move. I see now what he wants to play, but I cannot now avoid it, so I have just to move my king. King to b1.
What shall I do now? If I take on d4, still the check on h7 is unpleasant for me, which gives him a rather good game, and I have to develop my pieces. So I think it would be quite good to play my knight to b6, and so give freedom to my bishop on c8.
That's a good move. Black keeps attention. I was hoping for c takes d4, and I would probably play c3 takes d4, and after knight b6 and queen to c5, coming into rather pleasant endgame. Now blacks keep tension, and I don't think that I have much better position. What now to do? Probably the most objective move is here d4 takes c5, but I don't want to play this position that is probably draw. I just have to look how I could complicate the game, so I take a risk. It is a very difficult moment for me, actually. d4, d5. I will try d4, d5.
Under the rules of the competition, of course, they have to play 40 moves in 2 hours. At the moment, they're neither remotely in time trouble. Bill, what was interesting there was Vlastimil Hort talking about the best objective move and then not playing it.
Yes, I found that interesting. He said the best move objectively was, instead of pushing this pawn to d5, to exchange pawns, d4 takes c5, when after black recaptures, the position becomes very clear that white has 3 pawns against 2 on the queen's side, and these 3 pawns are a workable pawn majority. White can create a passed pawn. Black's pawn advantage on the other wing, the 4 kingside pawns, slightly crumpled against 3. The three white ones hold up the 4 black ones, so white would have a clear endgame advantage, and that objectively is the right way to play this position. It's the right strategy for white in this opening variation when black gives himself the doubled F pawns here. But Hort advancing the pawn to d5, it creates a passed pawn immediately, but that isn't such a strong pawn at the moment. If a black knight can get to d6, it's completely blockaded. Black knight on d6 and bishop on d7 would be very well placed. Black rook can come to e8, e5. So really he's made quite considerable concessions in advancing this pawn. But what he has done is cut the 2 sides of the board in half by this, instead of opening the position by exchanging pawns. And now he's playing for a direct attack on the black king with queen and bishop. And remember this knight on f4, which could have been forced back to e2 ages ago by a rook check. Just remember that Hort said after the rook check he intended to bring the knight back to e2 and then castle on the king's side. Now then he would have intended just this plan of utilising his pawn advantage. Instead he's castled long, he's tucked his king on the left-hand side to attack the black king, and now he's going to play a much more attacking game than the calm positional stuff, exchanging pawns. But as he said, it's not objectively the right thing to do.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what Helmut Pfleger's reaction is to Hort's subjective move. Let's go back to the game with Pfleger black to play his 14th move.
That's quite surprising. I expected d takes c5, which gives him a better endgame, I think. And now I think I have rather good aggressive tactical chances on his king, starting, of course, with bishop d7.
Yes, I saw it. Now there is a threat, bishop d7, a4, or even c5, c4 first, and then pinning my queen and rook. Well, I have to continue my business on king side, so I play bishop to f5.
I think that's his best move, to exchange bishops and, well, take away my attacking chances. If I exchange the bishops now, well, his free pawn on d5 is rather strong. But what shall I do? If I play to a4, then he plays simply b3, and nothing really works. I think I should conserve my bishop, play to b5.
The position is very complicated. I hope that my d5 pawn will be valid once and will be worse of what I played, but now I have to be careful about my king. What shall I do now? I really don't know. I think that I have to bring my rook into the game, so rook h1 to e1.
Yeah, shall I do the same thing, play my rook to e8, or only to d8 my a rook? And, well, attack his pawn on d5 and maybe threatening bishop to c4 and winning this pawn. Oh no, I think I better play my knight to c4, because this threatens bishop to a4, winning the exchange, because he can't play b3 because of knight a3 checks then. And at the same time, it makes possible that my knight comes back to d6 and stops his pawn on d5.
I was more afraid in that moment of a move rook a8 to d8. Now black is threatening bishop to a4. I see it clearly, but still he releases a pressure against my d5 pawn. Yes, I prepared my answer. Actually, I will play quite quick. Queen c2 c1.
Of course you saw it, and, well, I think it's a rather good move, and gives his bishop a retreating possibility to c2. Well, what shall I do now? Because I'm afraid of his attacking chances on the king's side now, starting then with knight to h5 and taking on f6 even with check and mate. So I think I better come back in time, play queen b6.
I see. Now he is afraid of my possible attack on king's side. I was thinking about playing knight f4, h5, taking g7, even sometimes coming. Well, now I have to be careful again. I think that I still have to make quiet moves here. King to a1.
He simply avoids any tactical possibility. Well, I threatened maybe a bishop to a4, and he can't play b3 because I would have taken on b3, and it's at least a draw. But what shall I do now? He still threatens to attack me on the king's side. I think I have to make it a little bit safer for me and exchange as many pieces as possible. Knight to d6.
Now black gets quite nice blockade square, but still I have my pawn and I have to hope that I can make some profit on king's side. Of course now I will retreat to better square. I like it now because sometimes I can make a nice battery, just putting the bishop to b1 and queen to c2, occupying the diagonal. Well, I have to go back. Let us see what he does. Bishop to b1.
Yes, the game looks rather good for him now. Somewhere I think I have misplayed it a little bit. Well, what shall I do now? Because it's rather uncomfortable, all these threats on the king's side, and I don't have really counterplay on the queen's side. I think my only hope is to exchange as many pieces as possible. So let's play rook fe8.
Black is simplifying. What can I do against it? I still have to play actively. I will make a trap now. I will play knight to h5. And when bishop e2, then I have very nice reply. Queen c2. Attacking at the same time actually bishop and threatening queen to h7 mate. I don't think that he will fall for it, but anyway, he will not probably feel comfortable. So, knight to h5.
Yes, I was afraid of that. Well, can I play rook e5? I don't think so, because he simply takes on f6 check. I have to take it back, and then queen takes h6, and it threatens mate on h7. And I think in all variations, somehow I get lost. So I don't like it, but nevertheless I have to take on e1.
Yes, that is a rule that Capablanca once said. When you are worse, you have to simplify. So he does it, but I cannot do anything else. Now I have to recapture the rook. Rook takes rook.
Well, now quickly exchange the other rook.
Yes, I expected this move, but still I don't think that there is a favorable coordination of black pieces. I will play for attack. Rook to e3.
Oh, can I play rook e5 now? No. Even now it doesn't look like. He simply takes it, and then all my pawns are somehow hanging. Well, I would like anything else but not to take, but nevertheless I have to do it.
That is sad, of course. I was hoping now for rook to e5. I prepared for it a move queen to c2. That would be very nice for me, probably almost winning. Now I have to play still hard positional game. I don't know whether I can make profit. I have to take back with queen, of course. Queen takes e3.
Now, there are some threats. He can try to play his queen to g3 and mate me on g7. And to take on f6 check, even. Well, how can I defend it? I can't come back with my queen to d8 because the pawn on c5 is hanging. How can I cover all this? Well, I think I have to start with knight e8, covering the important squares g7 and f6.
Yeah, this move, of course, makes my plans impossible. But still, by this move, black is leaving very important square. And I have just to try to improve my knight, coming either to e4, attacking his c5 pawn, or to f5. It will of course depend on his next move. I am now quite happy. White has nothing to lose. I can only win, but I am not sure. Yes, I have to go back with my knight. Knight to g3.
Yes, his knight was rather good horse and made me many fears. And now he comes back when he has done his job at the king's side. Well, he wants to jump to the center and, well, make uncomfortable things there, I'm afraid. What shall I do? I think I have to play my queen back to c7 to cover the c5 pawn with b6 if necessary.
I don't know about this move. Actually, I'm quite glad. There was interesting possibility c5, c4. Now, of course, queen come back, but I have now to play for bad black bishop. I see now good move, and I will make it difficult for black. It's not easy to play this position. I know it from my own experience. I lost many positions like this. I lost many times to Karpov when you just have a very small verse game, very small disadvantage, and he really microscopic disadvantage, and he makes really laboratory work, so I will try to do it as well. I will play c3, c4.
Well, again, there's still any great time trouble. Bill, fascinating thing about Pfleger is a man, here he is, who really doesn't study openings, apparently, and has other things to do than study the vast literature there is on the theory of chess, and yet he can get into a position like this, where Hort, who after all was a runner-up last year, ranked 7th, 8th in the world, still considers he only has a microscopic advantage.
Well, Pfleger's a very naturally talented player. I think certainly the strongest amateur in the world, strongest true amateur in the world. His great strength normally is a tremendous feeling for bad positions. A position like this where he's clearly worse, I wouldn't really expect him to lose. He has this tremendous feeling of when a difficult position changes into a lost position, and he avoids that moment. He can really find the only move in a position with amazing accuracy.
Hort says here that he's going to play laboratory moves, Karpov-like moves. What is the minute advantage he thinks he has he's going to be able to exploit?
This passed d pawn that he has, he wants to combine threats of advancing this pawn with threats on the king's side. You never win games like this when you just have one object to pursue. The d6 square is very well covered, but all the time he's trying to lure the black pieces away from protecting this square by his threats to the king. He's already persuaded the knight to go back to e8. That's the first stage. This laboratory work of Karpov, there's several horrible games where Karpov has won against Hort, really by scientific dissection methods, just very small advantage, gradually getting bigger and bigger. It's horrible to watch when it's done properly.
Well, let's see if Hort's going to do it properly. It's black Pfleger to play his 26th move in this position, see if he can defend it.
That's unpleasant. If I take it, it's simply mate. He takes my knight on e8. If I go to a4, then he can place a queen to a3. And what shall I do with my bishop then? And I think I would lose the pawn on a7 in the end. So the only way is to go back to d7.
Yes, that is the best. I was hoping a little bit for bishop a4. Afterwards I could play queen to a3, pinning this bishop and winning probably pawn on a7. But still now I can have my queen very active. I can get with my queen into the black camp, and it is not easy for him to get rid of this queen. Yes, I have nice move here. Queen to e7.
I don't like it. I really don't like it. And I'm in time trouble. And it's quite hard to make the right decision now. Shall I play my queen to d6? But then he can come with his queen to d8. And the pin of the knight, I don't like it, especially in time trouble. Maybe I can hold this game, but how and... No, I think I better try to exchange queens. Bishop a4.
I see. Now, of course, black wants to get rid of my queen, but he is not careful. I think that I see very important diagonal for me now. This diagonal is c8 to h3, and he cannot probably blockade properly my pawn. I have just to change the queen so that his knight is not blockading. Of course, for black position is very important, the square d6, but now his two pieces will be very uncooperative and I can make profit out of it. I see that I win at least pawn b7, because when black will come later on with his king, he will have to give me this pawn in order to blockade my d5 pawn. Yes, I am happy. Queen takes c7.
Well, of course I have to take it back.
Let's play now quickly. I have nice move. Bishop to f5.
Oh, he takes my bishop square d7. So if he plays b3, the only way is to come back to e8. And, well, I don't like my position too much if I'm... if I tell here's a truce. Well, what shall I do? And he threatens knight e4, attacking the pawn on c5. I think I just play safe, b6.
Yes, now actually black, I think gave up, not gave up, but he's hoping still that I can make mistake, and of course it was hopeless when he would give me this pawn. It is just a matter of technique, but now I have still to play very exactly. But I see how I will do it. Now his bishop on a4 is very bad piece that has actually no heir to breath, and his knight is dislocated and he cannot come back to d6. So I don't like now bishop c8 immediately, because he can play with knight to e8. Then it is true that I can play b2, b3, winning the bishop, but then black play exactly knight to d6, attacking my bishop on c8, and he would get very good pieces. So I just have to play exactly now, playing first b2, b3. It is winning move actually.
Oh, what's the matter with my poor bishop on a4? Once upon a time I was so proud of it. And now, where shall it go? Well, all the squares are occupied. Is it really the only one on e8? Well, it is.
Yes, now everybody sees it. I am very happy. Probably even Capablanca would be satisfied with this, what I did, but it was rather simple. I think that my opponent had not good day today, and it is actually first time that I win against him. I think that I can be very glad, because he's a very strong player. But now let's make the last strong move. Bishop to c8.
I completely overlooked that. I only expected d6, or I don't know what I expected. And I still had really good hopes of surviving. But now he simply threatens d6. And my attacked knight has to go somewhere, for instance to e6, and then d7 wins a piece, which makes the whole case, of course, completely hopeless. Well, I'm in time trouble, but it doesn't matter anymore. I'm completely lost. I will lose a piece, so I think the time has come to resign. now, I think. Yeah,
Ironical, really, just a few moments ago, Bill Hartston was saying that Pfleger had a very nicely tuned antennator when a difficult position became lost and was able to avoid it, whereupon Pfleger proved him wrong and did lose it. A very critical win this for Hort. It puts him top of his group. Next week, we're staying with Group A, where Walter Brown plays John Nunn, and now Brown needs to win to stay top of Group A, and Nunn needs to win to stay in contention for the championship at all. So until next week, Brown against Nunn from all of us here in Bristol. Good night.